Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, a place where you can come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 80, The Purpose in Your Plan. In this final month of the year, it's been all about finding and focusing on what brings us hope. And again, like we've been saying all month, I think the power of possible lies in our ability to both own our feelings, own the grief work. We talked about being in choice and being authentic. And today I want to focus on alignment. So as you create your plan for 2021, all those wonderful changes you want to make, I want to encourage you to think about the purpose behind your plan. What's the big why that's driving all of that? Because part of being in choice, I think, is living on purpose. And that means with loving intentions that guide our behavior because they align with our beliefs and what we value. And today I want to concentrate on what we can choose, which is your big why. That way, our sense of purpose and what our intentions are help create motivation and help keep us motivated, especially when we hit the middle. Near the middle of the year, we want to give up and throw in the towel, or we get distracted by life and so on and so forth. All right, so why does alignment matter so much? And we've kind of talked about your insides matching your outsides throughout these episodes this past year. And what I mean by that is not fighting with your authentic self. It means showing the world, making it real, putting it out there, the real person on the inside. The person maybe you've been afraid to step into, to show people because it's very vulnerable. You could be ridiculed, disconnected from, people get angry with you for changing, and basically abandonment is at the core of all of that, which is why we don't do it. But being in alignment is wonderful because it raises your confidence. It doesn't decrease it. Outside of that initial anxiety we just mentioned of putting yourself out there, once you do, and the right people will embrace you, by the way, the people who are healthy enough to embrace you, they will love it. There's something that happens in each of us when we feel someone is being real and genuine and authentic, or whatever words you want to use. There's just something that feels so right about that and so peaceful that we are drawn to it. And we're drawn to people who, for the most part, have that quality. That is why, in the past, if you have dated someone or took a job or went to do something and your friends just really couldn't get behind it, and in hindsight, you look back, you see why. Because usually it was going against your authentic self. And that's why they really couldn't feel like they could support it for you. Alignment lowers your anxiety and your symptoms of depression, and overall leads to a greater degree of life satisfaction. Stuff you probably already know, but I think it's important to mention. So your why. Your why is comprised of what your values are, what beliefs you hold about yourself and about the world and about life and about other people, and what matters most to you. Are you aware of those first? Are you aware of what your values are? Have you looked at them recently? Do you know what you believe and what you believe in? Do you know what beliefs might be driving the bus, whether you're conscious of them or not? Have you taken a look at them? If not, I encourage you to check out previous episodes, and I'll have those labeled in the show notes so you can go back and listen to them and then come back and join us. Another way you can go about this is to think about what has 2020 brought up for you. It's been a hell of a year. Good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. It's been chaotic. There's been a lot of upheaval and change, a lot of unwanted things happening. What insights have you come into this past year? And then, unfortunately, what has pain taught you, perhaps? Maybe losses that you incurred from the pandemic or from relatives believing something different politically or socially. What has pain taught you? Maybe personally, what are some of the difficult lessons maybe you've learned this past year or in the midst of learning right now? Taking a moment to think about how you've gotten to this point, and therefore what matters most to you. So to make it easier and more manageable, I thought we would look at different areas of our life. And when we do, I want you to think about what matters most to you in each one of these and why. Okay, so let's start with the first one, your relationships. Now, with the pandemic, many of us have not been able to connect with and see and appreciate and spend time with, or God forbid, say goodbye to people in our life, family, friends, colleagues. And so it's given many of us pause in terms of how maybe we have taken some of those relationships for granted. Prior to the pandemic, we were so busy. We assumed we could just go see someone at Thanksgiving or give our neighbor a hug when she needed one. That we'd see our colleagues every day, whether we wanted to or not. So your relationships. What matters most to you and why? And what would you like them to look like in the coming year? And why? What's changed for you? Maybe just by listening to this podcast, you've been working on yourself, so that is going to definitely create changes. You might have better boundaries today. You might not want to settle anymore for less than what you need and deserve. You might not be so self-absorbed in your own pain and therefore maybe want to connect more in your relationships in the coming year, to show more empathy, to spend more time, to communicate better. So think about what you would like them to look like and why. Don't worry about how to get there yet. That's next. All right. The next area is your career or your life's purpose, whatever you want to call that, whatever you're doing. You could be home raising kids, which is the most rewarding and powerful, meaningful career anyone can have. So are you happy where you are? Can you envision what you would like that to look like maybe a year from now? Maybe big changes, maybe small changes. What matters most to you around your career and why? For some people, it's work satisfaction. It's a lower stress environment, maybe a less toxic environment. Maybe it's wanting to do the work you love. It's a career. The next area would be bigger things outside of you, like issues, causes, or faith-based things like worrying about the environment or human rights or freedom or political issues. What are you passionate about and why? Would you like to be a part of something more this coming year and why? Would you like to show your support? Would you like to be a part of something bigger than yourself? The next area is your health. And there's different areas of health, I think. There's your physical health. You know, what matters to you the most right now around that and why? Many of us are focused on being healthier because of COVID. Many of us have had a hard time getting healthier because we've been stuck at home, maybe a little more sedentary. So your physical health, what would you like that to look like? What matters? And it could be just what matters right now. What about your financial health? What would you like that to look like in the coming year? What matters around that? Is it security? Is it more discipline? Is it more organization? Is it problem solving? Whatever matters to you right now around that. What would you like to be better at? Your emotional and psychological health. I think everyone's health in this area has taken a toll during the pandemic. Where is yours and what changes would you like to make to that and why? What are you learning? What have you learned? What have you walked through? How do you want to value that more in the coming year? And what does that look like for you? For some people, it could be just a little more calm, a little more peace, maybe feeling more connected to others, feeling more loved. Maybe it's more emotionally stable, not as stressed out and chaotic. What about your spiritual health? Whatever that may look like for you. Maybe it's just a long walk in the woods. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's going to some kind of service online. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's journaling about it, whatever that looks like for you. What matters to you around that right now and why? And your physical environments, your home, your space, whatever environments matter to you. For some people, it's the inside of their home. For some people, it's their yard, their community. What matters to you around that and why? And how are they? Like, even if you look at your physical home for a moment, is that where you want it to be? Is it how you like it? Are you happy with it? What matters there? For some people, it might be becoming more organized. For others, maybe it's making it more comfortable and aesthetically appealing. Include your emotional environments in that too. Do you have time to get away from stress and chaos of even people you love? Where are you spending your time, and is it conducive to your well-being? What matters to you most and why right now? And I keep saying right now because those things can change, and that's okay. And finally, your creativity, your play, your self-care, that bucket of things that often get pushed to the back burner, especially those of you who have kids at home right now and you're working and you're trying to teach and parent. Finding moments, even 10 minutes a day, where you can go for a walk, sit in your car, I don't care what you do, spend some time allowing yourself to be creative, allowing yourself to play, practice self-care. What matters to you most around all of that and why right now? And what would you like that to look like? So we want to take each area, and then my encouragement is this week you can just make a rough plan for each area that you'd like to bring into alignment. So alignment with what has really come to matter to you this year and why. What is your why? And then what needs to change? What needs to change now and why? Why does that make sense? Like, for instance, for your relationships, if you've been working on setting boundaries in 2020, you're probably taking a hard look at those in your life that maybe, aren't honoring your boundaries, and you're noticing that more today. So you're going to take a look at your relationships and perhaps make some changes. So looking at your relationships, looking at those around you, and also your behavior within those relationships. How do you want to be different? Don't write down 25 things. Keep it simple. Keep it under 5. But how would you like that to be different? What are some things that you know you need to start working on, get help working on, or just start doing differently? Start practicing. There's the learning, and then there's putting it into practice. Putting into practice is the risky, vulnerable thing, which is what we're talking about now. So what about your career? Are you doing meaningful work that challenges you? Are you wanting to make any changes this year? Maybe just switch jobs when reasonable to do so. Maybe you're not working in a place that matches your values or with healthy enough people, and you'd like to consider looking out there and see what else is available. Around issues, causes, or faith-based things, what would you like to do differently? Example that comes to my mind, someone who really cares about social justice. Maybe you want to be someone who supports a cause in your community so you can feel good and congruent about that. Reusing things or not buying as much. That sort of thing. So your insides match your outsides more. So things that you believe in, not things that you pile on your plate because you're already so overwhelmed, but you need one more thing. So just be careful about that. My encouragement is do one little thing that makes you feel good. That way you can feel like you're honoring that for yourself, but you're not piling on things that you don't have time to do. Okay, so I just want to clarify that. Just doing one symbolic thing gets us started, number 1. Number 2, it helps us feel in alignment. And number 3, you can always add more later. You can always do bigger, better things later. Your health, your physical health. What do you need to do around that, if anything, in terms of better nutrition, better rest, exercise, meditation? What would you like to do? Your financial health. Would you like to get better at budgeting, bring more income in? What would you like to do around that? Your emotional and psychological health. Do you need to grieve? Do you need to sit with someone? A counselor or a coach, perhaps? A group? Do you need to honor what's been going on by maybe sharing that by picking up the phone and opening up? Or do you need to work on boundaries and detachment for your emotional well-being? That's a whole big concept in and of itself, which has huge emotional impacts in a good way for us. Your spiritual health. Where's your practice? Where's your community? A lot of people are feeling disconnected from their spiritual community during COVID. So are you doing things to connect creatively, perhaps? Is there any healing that needs to be done in this area? Maybe even spending time in the quiet, whatever works for you. Your environments, like we talked about, physical clearing, maybe updating, maybe changing. Maybe even in your home where you mark off a space just for you. Maybe you change where your home office space is right now just to feel like you're working in a different place. I know a lot of us are feeling a little closed in these days, especially with winter being here in my country where it's not as nice out. We're spending more time inside. Your creativity, your self-care, your play, what's in your plan to schedule this in? And I did say schedule. I mean, we can all say, yeah, I'd love to do that. That's great. But unless we schedule it, it's not going to happen. Taking a walk, something good for your soul, something that's fun, something that allows you to relax and have a good time. Maybe it's even different self-care, like cleaning out a closet or a long hot bath or an afternoon with a good book or confronting something you need to confront in a relationship. That's self-care too. Self-care can mean a lot of different things. I want you to focus here on what's some good stuff, especially if you haven't had time for that lately, because the boundaries aren't there where there used to be school for the kids to go to or your spouse to go to work, or there was daycare, or there were other sports and other activities for people in your life where you got that built-in downtime, me time. We have to create our own these days. And so we have to be more intentional about it. So those are all the areas. And if you have others that come up for you, please feel free. I think by now you know what matters to you. If you've been listening to the podcast all year, I'm sure by now you've been able to identify some changes that you'd like to make. All right. So I want to get started with this whole thing with an exercise to help get you focusing on your plan. For those of you not familiar, if you're driving or walking or indisposed, just listen and see what comes into your heart. Otherwise, I encourage you to make this a writing exercise right now to draw more out and make it real by writing it out. But don't worry, either way, I'll have this download in the newsletter so you can grab it later. So right now, just be present. Try to relax and take a few deep breaths. Get centered and just see what comes up for you. Okay, you ready? So if you can, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine for a moment what you would like to see your life looking like a year from now, especially if you've been implementing some of the changes we talked about today, putting things in motion a little bit each day, each week, and each month for the next 12. Visualize yourself. What's different? What feels so good and fabulous? Why? How much more confident do you look and feel? And how proud of yourself for sticking with the plan and not giving up? In that vein, what obstacles came up for you this year? And what did you do about them? Like, what did you decide and then what did you do and why? And what is now possible after making all those changes this year? Are you in better physical, emotional, or financial health? Just look around you. Note the improvements, even if they're small ones, like just the fact that more clutter is gone and your home feels more comfortable, all the way to setting big boundaries with others and therefore feeling happier and freer, and everything in between. What's different? And why is that great? Maybe you took a big risk on something new for yourself. Maybe you're feeling excited and vulnerable and scared and proud of yourself for finally pulling the trigger. All the above is okay. Maybe you're having some doubts or regrets mixed with the excitement and being proud of yourself. Life is usually a mixed bag, right? If it wasn't, we'd all make the big changes every day and not worry about the fact that other people might get upset, that things may change and change is loss. Even good changes mean we let go of some things. It's part of the package. So take a moment and smile right now. I want you to relish in your accomplishments. I want you to see the fruit of your self-discipline, your fortitude, and your resilience. Right now, make a few quiet statements to yourself to solidify your resolve to improve things this coming year. I want you to write those down right now if you can. Okay. Wow. So how did all that feel? Are you more motivated and excited now? What did you see? And what was that like to visualize all of that? I'm a big believer in visualization. You keep telling your subconscious and showing it evidence that this is possible, and it will make sure it happens for you. It will also try to be your ally as opposed to getting in your way with distorted, negative, limiting self-beliefs and doubts. That can keep you from making changes. I encourage you to take 10 minutes each month and do this exercise. It'll help you stay focused on the finish line, stay on purpose, and true to yourself, especially when you stray or life shows up and gets complicated. So there are some really good reasons to have a sense of purpose behind your plan. I'm sure there are many more, but here are the ones that stand out for me. First of all, having a strong why gets you and keeps you motivated. So keep that at the front for yourself all year. Find ways to remind yourself, oh yeah, that's right. This is why I'm doing this. We can get caught up in the day-to-day and forget the why. So have reminders in your phone, have messages, statements, quotes, whatever you need to remind yourself why you're making these changes and why that matters. Another good reason is having congruence. Your insides matching your outsides will help you feel more grounded and confident, less anxious, less wiped out, less depressed, more energy, less focus on people, places, and things outside of yourself. You're going to have more of an internal quiet focus, which is really cool. It helps you keep it simple. It helps you be less stressed and more focused and less chaotic. And in that vein, I want to encourage you to try to keep this very simple. Like have a master plan, the overarching plan with your why. Then I want you to write out ways to chunk it down into manageable pieces. You know, things that you can do each day, things you can do each week, each month to implement. Just even doing a little bit matters. You're going to feel and see yourself doing it. It's going to feel better. You're chipping away at it slowly. You're honoring yourself. And you'll get there eventually, but you're also not being ridiculous and overwhelming yourself. You can add as you go, like we've talked about before, which keeps you interested and gives you little things to aspire to and look forward to. So I kind of like the idea of rolling it out slowly for that reason. For instance, maybe this weekend you clean out one closet. And you don't have time till next month to do the other one. But that's okay because during the next 30 days, you're also building in some time to kick back, walk, or read. Allow the process to unfold just as it should and just get started. Start where you are. Motivation will come and it'll become more sustained by doing, not thinking about it. Just do what you can. Doing what you can is going to motivate you to do more later. All right, so as we wrap up this month of hope, let's look forward to the coming year. Let's allow it to be a new start. Doing whatever you can, whenever you can is the plan, and not overdoing it. Not trying to do too much at once. That's a plan to fail. Do what you can, start changing habits, normalize those habits till they become your new normal, and start changing your life that way. So today we talked about making sure your self-improvement plan for the coming year is tied to your sense of purpose and what matters most to you. That it feels intentional and it feels congruent and it represents what matters most to you right now. So let's walk into 2021 together, hopefully to see an end to this awful pandemic, more coming together and building a more peaceful place to live and changing ourselves so we can be a part of the greater solution. Thank you for being with me today and for being with me all year. May you stay healthy, grounded, keep holding on to hope, be a source of hope for others. Focus on the wonderful things inside of you and in those around you. Check out the show notes at ownitpowercast.com. If you don't already get the Tribe newsletter, you can sign up for it there, and you will get the podcast episode and any bonus downloads such as the one today. All right. Pay it forward. Keep focusing on loving you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.